lots of reasons why we don't do things. But I wanted to let you know that it's not that hard, and share with you what I did and how I discovered meditation for myself and the great benefits it's been. So this is what this is all about. Just me and talking about meditation and my experience. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, love to hear your feedback. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you never miss a video when it's uploaded. Thanks so much, and take care. Let's do this. Let's have some fun. Planet Earth is a playground filled with magical discoveries waiting for us to find them. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Catherine, the Clarity Whisperer, and we're back for another podcast. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my experiences with meditation. First of all, let's talk about why. Why meditate at all? If you are busy, overloaded, all kinds of the news, the kids, the spouse, the employer, the stress of the bills and all that kind of stuff going through your mind all day long, and you want to turn it off. So you turn off the television, the radio, you go somewhere and you just are quiet. Chances are your mind is going to really get busy then, because the outside noise is now not there, so you have a void. So it's going to start filling it up with all the things you can be worried about. A lot of people talk about this. They lay down at night, they're ready to go to sleep, and the whole, oh, did you remember about this, and did you forget that, and all the obligations, and then there was that thing that happened to you when you were 10, and what about the thing that's going to happen in the future? That's the monkey mind. It just doesn't want to be quiet. So what you have to do, what I've discovered, is find something else to focus on. So this is where we get into, how do you do that? Doing it right. You got to do this right. It's a new thing that you got to do right. I really am going to just tell you right off the cuff, I don't think there is a right way. I think your way, whatever works for you, will be the right way. It's an interesting phenomenon with humans. We really like rules, and in many cases, we like to make people wrong if they don't do what we think is the right way. And like all things in life, I really feel for the majority of things, there's only one right way, and it's whatever works for you. If it doesn't work for you, then you can sit in the right position, you can be in the right room, you can have your ambiance all perfect. But if it's not working for you, or you don't do it, then it doesn't work for you. So here's the thing. What is this meditation? What is it all about? Meditating on something. And sometimes you hear, well, if you focus on something, then, in that meditative state, you get the answer. And you have to remember that we're dealing with the mind, the human mind, which is very much connected to the earth plane and, our body and everything, that our ego. And then we have our, conscious, subconscious, and of course the subconscious is all whatever's been programmed into it since we've been here on Earth. And then our conscious mind, which is the one we think we're using most of the time, the one we think with. Although, if you're really interested in that kind of information, you should really check out Dr. Bruce Lipton on that, because he has some really good information. Spontaneous evolution, I believe, is one of the ones where he really talked about the conscious and subconscious, like who's really in charge when you are not in your conscious mind, what is running the show. And that's when, you see how we behave in ways that sometimes even surprise us, like, why did I say that? Or, getting into your car and driving for miles and not remembering where you've just been. It's, that's your subconscious, the program that's, it's like when we say, oh, it's like riding a bike. Once you learn, it's in there. And that's true. once something is learned and brought into the consciousness, it stays in there. And a lot of our programming happens to us before the age of 7, where we don't have really great filters to say this is right or this is wrong for me. It's our world, and so all of that stuff is in there. So most of the time we're using our conscious mind in ways where we're present. But the subconscious mind is what happens when we're not present. That's how I look at it. And if we really want to, we have a problem and we say, well, I'll meditate on that. And so you sit there, and what you're actually doing a lot of times, in my experience, is stewing on something, chewing on something. It's a problem, you're worrying about it. That's not meditation. That is really the mind, the monkey mind, the hamster wheel going around, around, around. You could be spending hours on a problem and not find any kind of alternative avenues to solution for what you consider to be a problem. And I remember Einstein saying that what he did was he would work through a problem for a certain amount of time, and then he would just let it go, and he would go into a meditative state or kind of like a dream time, and very often that's where the solutions or the insight, I'll say, would come to him. I believe it was also Bach or Beethoven who did the similar thing. They were downloading the information that they wanted from the universe, from that collective consciousness, which is totally different than what happens when you are in your conscious mind, where you're only dealing with what you already know, for the most part. What you read, that kind of information coming to you from this plane, I'll say, this earth dimension. So how do you develop your own philosophy for life? How do you find what really works for you to get to really know yourself if all you have is what you were programmed with up to the age of 7, what the world is saying, the noise of the news, the noise of the other people's opinions of you? How do we're in reactive mode all the time. So of course we're promoting for children, for adults, meditation. But a lot of people have some resistance to that. It's too hard. I can't make time for it. It doesn't work for me. Well, sometimes it doesn't work for us because we're trying someone else's shoes on, so to speak, and they don't fit. The whole point about meditation is to find a way to let that conscious mind relax. Let go of the fear, let go of the anxiety, let go of the monkey mind. I want to share with you my experience with meditation. I've been meditating now for almost 20 years, consciously meditating, knowing I'm meditating. Prior to that, I think I was also meditating, but just unaware of it, unaware of what meditation was, because I too thought it was you had to take lessons, you had to be, it was part of yoga, it was part of certain other structures. And sometimes you look at people's prayer life, and praying is another kind of form of meditation in a way, because it uses, in some cases, rote prayer. So you're repeating over and over again certain mantras or certain prayers that it's a communication, but you're not really focused so much on the meaning of the word. You're saying the words. It's repetitive, and it gives your mind something to do. Then there's, prayer where you're engaged in a conversation with the divine, with the creator, with God, whatever you call it. Sometimes people use prayer as a way of pleading, begging. I need this, I really need your help, I really need, that kind of prayer. So we have, petition prayers, which we call them, or gratitude prayers. And these are all good. I think that this kind of communication is really important. But I do find very often that prayer is often one-sided. We're doing all the talking or the repeating. Whereas meditation is, to me, is also kind of a form of prayer, because we're allowing ourselves to listen more than we are speaking. And how I can feel into that is the first time I noticed that I was kind of meditating, even though it wasn't formal, was I had a couple of coloring books in the house, and I went out and bought myself a pack of crayons, one of those big ones, like with 64 colors or something, that I didn't have when I was a child. So I knew this was going to be, like kind of fun and special. And then the coloring books, they only had children's coloring books when I first started to jump into coloring as my form of meditation. So I would sit in the chair and I would just grab whatever colors I wanted, and I broke all the rules. That was my first way of claiming that's time, claiming this was going to be mine, not rules, not other people's ideas of what was coloring. A way to express my creativity, but first I had to break the rules. So I colored outside of the lines. I colored the objects that were already in the coloring book, the wrong colors, so to speak. I colored the people, rainbow colors, or I mismatched their outfits instead of, the uniform was supposed to be all one color, or the trees were supposed to have green leaves and I might make them red or purple or whatever. The sky was not always blue, and you get the idea. All over the place, like a 3-year-old coloring, because I wanted to show myself that there wasn't going to be any harsh repercussions if I went outside the line, because I had some wounds from my childhood where if I didn't follow those rules, I might be coloring in someone else's book, or I was coloring in school, and that was wrong. And so I wanted to make it right for me to do it my way, and just to let go of whatever else was going on around me, whether it was something I was worried about or anything. I just give myself the time to sit and color as long as I wanted to. And it would relax me. And I thought, isn't that interesting that I can do something so simple as coloring and just feel more peace. And I realized then what was happening is I was letting go. I was letting my mind just go and relax. And my my spirit, my consciousness was able to just go, because my ego mind was focused on the coloring. And then I advanced to paint by number painting that you can buy already. The picture's already on it and tells you where to put the paint. And I did follow the instructions because I wanted to. I wanted to create that image that was on the box, and I wanted to feel what a paintbrush and that acrylic paint felt like, and how to work with it, and how much paint to put on the canvas. And I had never done that before. So now I'm an adult and I'm giving myself permission to do these kinds of things. And it became a meditation, because I could sit in front of my painting just methodically creating, with every brushstroke I was creating something that was pleasing to my eye, pleasing and relaxing, and I'd get lost. It'd be like a couple of hours. There were a few times it was like 4 hours and I hadn't moved, and I realized, where did the time go? Where was I? But what I was noticing happening was I was relaxing. I was, I was also dealing with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. So getting lost like that was really an amazing thing, because I didn't feel the pain. I didn't feel any discomfort while I was doing it. I will admit that after a long stint like that sitting, I was in a little bit of pain afterwards. However, just the insight into how I didn't need to be in a formal setting to meditate was very liberating. And then from there, I started to, consider other forms. Like, what would that feel like to try a different kind of way of meditating? And what I found was that for the most part, I was doing the same thing, focusing on my breath. Well, focusing on my breath, I'm not focusing on my bills or focusing on the world's problems I'm focusing on my breath. And so then I began to meditate with music. And I would lay down on my bed and have music playing in the background. So my breath seemed to be almost in harmony with this relaxing music that I was playing. And I would notice that I could feel my body in a whole different way. And I started to feel energy coming into my body and moving through my energy meridians, my chakras. I could feel it. I could feel it in my physical body. And so in those moments, I wasn't focusing on what was happening in the day to day. And, I meditate for at least an hour every day. A lot of people say, you only need to meditate for 10 minutes or 50 minutes. It's fine if that's what works for you. But for me, it's a daily practice, and I can't go to sleep at night until I've meditated during the day. I might do it in the afternoon. I might do it before I go to bed. Usually what happens is I'll meditate for an hour, and then I kind of am a little bit energized. So it's sort of a dance that I do, whether if I do it early in the evening, then that's okay, because then I can still have a really good night's sleep. And I noticed that just in allowing myself to let in the energy of spirit, to allow my guides, my higher self, to speak to me through the energy exchange, I am more awake, alert, conscious when I'm not meditating, because I've let, it's like closing the file drawers in a filing cabinet, a huge filing cabinet with papers sticking out everywhere. Just giving myself that time to be present in my body, although there's been times in meditation where I've left my body, just it's so relaxing that you're still present, but you're not present. So it's a kind of interesting dance. And I've also experienced a lot of different phenomena in a meditation where I feel my body moving. I feel it sort of on the verge of levitation, because the vibration gets very high. And when I first started to meditate, I was experiencing a lot of heat in my body. And I believe that was Kundalini moving. And I didn't have a huge Kundalini awakening where, like a lot of people talk about, the Kundalini energy it's sort of coiled up at your root chakra. And it flows when it's allowed to. Just move with ease through your chakras, through your energy meridians, through your body, for you, for your highest good, for your health and well-being. It's a connection to spirit. It's divine energy. This is how I understand it. There are meditation teachers and gurus who will give you a much more expansive understanding of it. For today, I'm just trying to share something from my own life experience that can maybe simplify it a bit, because when I look at meditation, it is not about rules. It's actually the opposite. It's letting go of the rules and allowing us to be who we really are, and to give ourselves permission to notice our body, our breathing, our connection to divinity and to the earth, to be grounded here on planet Earth, being, in this world but not of this world. Because we did come from universal energy, this is my belief, so that when we're done here, we drop this body and we go on, because there really is no death. And even, as I've said in other podcasts and other videos I've made, in other chats I've had on the YouTube channel, this is my belief. And I don't expect other people to embrace my beliefs. I'm sharing with you my experiences and what works for me, in the hopes that perhaps it might give you some insight, or it might open a window or a door for you to look at life in a different way and help to let go of some of the fear that is driving this planet. There's so much fear, and we're fearing each other. We're fearing the news. We're fearing day-to-day events. And meditation can help us to let go of all of that and come back to a place of centeredness and connection, knowing we're connected and that we're safe in our bodies, connected to spirit, connected to the earth. When I think about Einstein saying, we can't solve the problems that we created in the same energy that they were created in. And that is, he used to, apparently, if my memory serves me correctly here, he used to work through a problem as much as he could with his human mind. And then when he would get to a place where he just let go, and he would go into a meditation, almost like a dreamlike state. And when he was finished, often the answers would appear. Or he would get them in the meditation, which we also very often get answers in our dream time. Whether or not we remember them or not, we're dreaming and sorting and connecting to spirit in the dream time. So for some people, it really helps to keep pen and paper beside the bed to write down our dreams, and then learn what our dreams mean to us, because they're very individual. Just like everything else about us is, we interpret the world through our own lens. We interpret our dreams through our own lens. So where dreams are like a meditation in a lot of ways, you can have a dream dictionary that will tell you that this means this or that means that in the dream. But what I have found is, although I have looked at those from time to time, but I also look at the dictionary and ask myself if that symbol in my dream means the same thing as the dictionary. And oftentimes it's not the same, because if you have a symbol, if you see something in the dream that is, let's say, a cat appears in my dream. If I love cats and, really feel warm and cuddly when I see one, that cat in the dream means something different to me than it would to someone who is afraid of cats, allergic to cats, has a fear or an understanding of what a cat represents. So you have to know yourself. This is really important. Know thyself. And that is how you can communicate with yourself and get insight from your higher self in the dream time. Bringing that information into our awareness. And the more we practice remembering our dreams, recalling what we learned in the dream time, by writing it down, by telling someone else, I had this dream, it kind of, it reminds the mind that, yeah, I want to remember this. And it's practice. It takes practice to open that door to that communication. And what I have learned is that for me, in my dreams, everything in the dream is me. And so everything has, even though it might, let's say it's my mother in my dream. Well, there are different kinds of dreams. There's lucid dreams where you're very much awake, aware. You could be flying, you could be experiencing all the senses, that kind of thing. You can have dreams where someone actually from, the other side of the veil is talking to you in the dream, and that could be really them. But it can also be a situation where someone looks like, say, my mother in my dream, but she's representing the part of me that is like my mother, or that has qualities, that are like me. So it's really important to be able to take the time to get to know yourself and to interact with your dreams and be aware that meditation is not a hard thing. It's not, it can be if that's how you want it to be. But generally speaking, I really think most of us are meditating for periods of the day. A daydream is kind of like a meditation where you're just kind of lost in, and it's not a worrisome place. You're present, but you're present in the now, and at the same time you're also in another world. It's a very interesting place to be. But when you're meditating, I remember being concerned that if I went into a meditation and I would go so deep that I would be concerned that, I wouldn't be aware of things going on around me. And so what I've come to understand is I can be deep in meditation and the phone rings and I'm right there. Or there's something going on in the house that I need to attend to, and I will be right back. So even though I can go way deep and be having a blissful experience, I don't need to be concerned for my safety of my physical body because I am aware. In fact, what happens to me is my senses are heightened during my meditation. And if a train goes by outside my house, down the street, that vibration of all that steel coming down the rails, it will be so amplified when I'm in that meditative state, because my vibration has been raised, and then this other vibration is much louder. So I find that that's a way to really become more sensory, more aware of my surroundings, to also access more of my psychic gifts. Meditation quiets the noise. And like I say, you can do it in many ways. You can do it by just sitting in a chair and relaxing, listening to music and thinking of nothing. Just letting the music, following the notes of the music and the rhythm, just really allowing that to sort of just encompass all of you. You can, you look at children. When I was a kid, for instance, I would lay on the grass for hours, looking up the sky, looking at the clouds, looking at the way the sun was, shining through the clouds and the formations, and just totally blissful. Well, in that case, I was totally grounded. My whole body was connected to the earth. And now today we hear, adults talking about getting out, standing on a patch of grass on your bare feet to ground yourself. And I think how far we've come from, walking in bare feet, playing on the earth, sitting on the earth, lying down on the earth. In the wintertime, we used to lay in the snow and look up at the stars and try to find the constellations, or hopefully see the aurora borealis occasionally, when we had a chance. I didn't live far enough north to see it in its real brilliance that you can see further up north, but you could definitely see it and you could hear it. When you're that quiet and in the snow, the sound is just so much more amplified. It was just magical, and that to me is meditation. Anytime that you can allow yourself to focus not on a problem, you have a problem, like Einstein, you have a problem that you think, or a situation that you need some insight. You let go and you allow yourself to go wherever your consciousness wants to go, and you give your mind something to do. And that could be focusing on your breath, it could be focusing on music, it could be focusing on coloring, or and when I say that, it's not about focusing on coloring like I got to get this right. It's focusing in a way that is loose, You're picking up a crayon, you're putting it on the page, you're writing, you're moving your hand, you're blending colors. I also find the same thing with knitting, following a pattern. My focus is on the knitting. Everything else just dissolves. No worries, no concerns. I'm just figuring out this pattern, this knitting, this repetitive, thing that my hands are doing that's keeping my body active while my consciousness is just floating around and picking up information, an insight that I can use. I get a lot, you hear people say they get a lot of their inspiration in the shower. Well, why? The water's running, you're focused on cleaning yourself, you're relaxed, you're safe, you're in your privacy in that moment, and you can let go. So inspiration comes. That's inspiration. That's where it comes from letting go of the noise. And I think that's why it happens in the shower a lot to a lot of people. Also, to give yourself permission, so that a lot of times people say they don't have time to meditate because they're so busy. But a lot of times what they're busy with is mind talk. It's making lists, got to get this done, got to hurry up, too much to do, don't have time for that. And what I found is I have a lot more time when I give myself permission to meditate, to let go. Because I think one of the things for me was believing I could control my environment by staying focused and present and alert all the time. And letting go was not easy for me to do, because that was not my survival. My survival was about constantly being on alert, sleeping with one eye open, one ear open, always aware of my environment, because anything could happen. So I encourage you, if you're not a meditator now and you're not meditating because of your concerns that you're not going to do it right, let go of that. Find your own way. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be gardening, it could be a craft, anything where you are solitary. You could do it in walking. Walking meditations are also awesome. But it's not where some people will take a walk and argue with themselves the whole way, having those discussions. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is truly letting go and And you can walk and be aware of your environment. Be really aware, really in appreciation, really just, I do that a lot, even though when I'm meditating, lying on my bed, I just allow myself to be in bliss. Like, oh, this feels so good. Thank you to divinity, to my higher self, to my guides and angels. Thank you for allowing me to have this experience here on planet Earth. And just, sometimes I start off by telling the universe what I'm concerned about, or what I'm looking for inspiration about. And then I just let go and allow the information to come to me. And sometimes it doesn't come to me in the meditation. Sometimes it's just a bliss and I'm not really aware of information. But a lot of times it will come later when I'm also not focused. Like standing at the sink doing the dishes. My hands are in the water, it's methodical, it's repetitive. Don't have to think about that. What I'm, really think about it. How do I wash this plate? I don't usually have to do that anymore after this many years of washing plates. So those kinds of activities where you're not really having to think, you're doing things that are relaxing, even though, or make it relaxing, like some people say, oh, doing the dishes isn't very relaxing. If you think about it and you allow yourself, it's not a job, turn it into a opportunity. I find I get a lot of inspiration when I'm doing the dishes. I will sometimes have to stop and write something down because something came to me, an idea for something to write, something to talk about, a show to do, a guest to have on my show. Oh my gosh, I'm so curious about that person. Write it down. It just, allow yourself permission to stop the monkey mind. That's really what meditation is. And I'm not saying that the other formal practices don't work. I'm sure they do for a lot of people. A lot of people are doing them. But there's a lot of people who are not doing them, not meditating, because of their fear that it's too hard or it's a lot of work or it takes too much time. I really think that we could just let people find their own way, and each of you, just claim it. This is my form of meditation. This is what I do, and I love it. And just be that. I don't advocate that my way is the right way. All I'm saying is this is what works for me. And as I say, check your dreams. See where you're getting wisdom coming to you. And allow yourself to remember those dreams. That's your communication with you, with your consciousness. There's messages there for you, insights, all kinds of connection to spirit, to divinity, about how to live on this planet, how to heal your wounds that you've had. It was a huge healing for me to be able to color like that. To make a mess in a coloring book, to give myself, the adult me, give the inner child permission to play in that way. And I hope you find your inner child and have some play today. And until next time, take care. Well, that's all she wrote. That's all the time we have today. Please check out the website, KatherineWhalenCostin.com or lgrcc.com. The archived shows from Let's Get Real Chatting with Catherine are on Blog Talk Radio, but they're also on the YouTube channel. Lots of more current video chats will be on there all the time, uploading all the time because I'm exploring all the time. And don't forget to connect with me. Give me some feedback. Tell me what you want to hear about or what you thought about something we did discuss. That would be great. I love to connect. And all my social media links and all my other websites and information are on lgrcc.com, so check it out there. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. If you've enjoyed this, please share it with your friends and let them know that we're out here exploring our universe. Until next time, take care.